I'm still not cooling on Ty Simpson. Keep trying if you want.
You're right or die.
As I'm watching the tape, 2 of the first 4 incompletions are drops. And one was his wide receiver, Bernard, just got bumped off of a route, but he threw it to the spot where Bernard was tracking to be, and it would have been an unbelievably well-anticipated throw. So while you're watching the game, you're like, oh, Simpson. Now, he did miss that deep ball. And I did see a little pat before throwing the deep ball and almost like trying to guide it in. I think it's in his head a little bit. The deep ball stuff is starting to get into his head. I don't think that the short and intermediate stuff he throws with so much confidence that I'm looking at him in a similar way as like Josh Allen at times. Calm down. He's not as big. He's not as strong. He's not as fast. He doesn't have as big an arm. I'm not saying that. But I remember watching Josh Allen at times with those receivers, and you're going to say, well, McShay, what are you talking about? You got Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard and Isaiah Hort. I'm saying there are some throws he makes that in the NFL, they will be caught. He's just trusting everything. And he's putting it in places where receivers should be able to get and maybe don't always get there. Or there's a drop. Like 2 of the first 4 passes that he threw in that game. His movement in the pocket continues to be beautiful. He has decisiveness and plays on schedule and has a mental clock that you rarely see from a college quarterback. Okay. He also has been protecting the ball better the last couple of weeks. Remember, I put him on blast. Like, hey, I'm trying to let everyone in the country know how good you are and talented you are and how well you're playing the position. But you got to protect the ball when the pressure starts coming in on you. And he's made a concerted effort and has shown progress in that regard the last couple of weeks. He can also run a little bit. He's not John Mateer, but that design run to the left side, the chunk run he had late in the first quarter on a 3rd and 3, huge play in that game.
Yeah, he's not stiff.
But that continued that drive. And it set up the touchdown pass with 1:20 left in the first quarter. And on that throw, Auburn sends 6. This was the throw, the highlight of the game. 1:20 left first quarter. We've all seen the highlights, right? Auburn sends 6, so he knows they've got more coming than I've got protected. And he starts to he never drifts. This is not Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders from a year ago. This is more Jackson Dart, always climbing, always advancing the offense. He starts to drift purposely. He buys himself some extra time. And not himself, but the receiver a little bit of extra time. 2 things happen. This fucker comes off of his read to the left. And you rarely see something like this, but thank goodness the tight copy and the coach copy tape is in the end zone looking at his helmet so you can actually see his eyes. It's not like you're coming from the back of his helmet.
Right.
He's drifting. Initially, he's looking to his left as he's trying to drift back to buy extra time to see if his receiver can get it just a step. Then you got a guy who dives at his feet, and he has no choice but to look down to see, do I have an extra? But it's like this. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, it's like this. Actually, my head just went down. It's like this. All right. And if you're listening on Apple or anywhere else you get your
you're
podcast,
a lunatic.
My head doesn't move. My eyes just go boop, boop. Okay. And he does that. But then the crazy part is, while still kind of drifting and all of his weight falling backwards, he doesn't just go back to where he was looking before. He comes off to his right and starts his second progression. And it happens in like as fast as I can say progression. He's done those 3 things. Come off his read, look at his feet, go back to the right, identifies in the amount of time it takes me to say progression. It's nuts. So that's the first part. And then the second part is after he comes from his left, looks down, looks to his right. The second part of this throw that's unbelievable to me is he is completely falling backwards and somehow, and I'm not saying he's got Josh Allen's arm or Matthew Stafford's, he doesn't. He's got a really good arm though. But he just flicks it, and the ball at the end of that throw, the energy that's on it, not only gets over the defender, but then on the shoulder, like the back, corner, so it's a safe ball to throw in that. I don't know how you process all those things and make that throw under those circumstances. It was an awesome. It took 5 minutes to rewind it that many times because I wanted to see every element of every part of it, both tight copy and wide copy. But in like real gameplay, that like 7 to 9 seconds of what happened was special. Now, there's a negative. Third quarter, 10:50 left. Doesn't see the backside safety. Should have thrown an interception. A throw he just can't afford to make, and a throw that he just can't have, I'm assuming, in this SEC championship game and get away with. But then you fast forward to the game-winning drive. Fourth down, he scrambles for a first, right? And it was ugly, and it wasn't pretty, but he scrambles, and he gets the first down. Then there's a long run that he had to the goal line, but there was a holding by Isaiah Horton. Again, the third time in this game that he had a critical run for Alabama. Then there's the throw down the right sideline. It was so on time that it's like teaching tape. Like the receiver Bernard hadn't even started his break, and there was pressure coming. By the way, 18 times out of 40 dropbacks, he was pressured in this game. That's nearly half the time you drop back. You can get in the offensive line play at some point, Steve, but the protection has been really up and down. And I know that Auburn defense is awesome. But you factor that in without the running game, and it kind of tells the story without even having to watch the tape of, well, if he's pressured on half of his dropbacks and they don't have a run game, it's putting him in a bind. But that throw to Bernard on time, and then the onions call. I mean, for DeBoer I know the kicking game has struggled a little bit, but instead of just taking the 3 points, to go for the touchdown, instead of just taking the 3-point lead in that spot, or what was it, or a 2-point lead, whatever it would have been at that point, shows an unbelievable amount of trust in this quarterback. And then for his quarterback to have the onions to pay it off with the poise and how calm he was in that moment on the slant for the touchdown, that was some special stuff too, to Isaiah Horton. Now, the stats say he completed 54% of his passes with 122 passing yards. What are you talking about, McShay? You're so biased. You're so biased. But the tape tells a different story.
And that's we're always going to go back to that, and that's what it is. And if a guy has great tape, we might come back and say it wasn't as good as he thought.
I do have to ask this question.
Or great numbers, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you. You go first.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay. At what point are we not buying DeBoer? And understandably so, if there is something there. At what point are we not buying DeBoer's claims that nothing's wrong with Ryan Williams? It just was the flow of the game, and he didn't get targeted and all of that. Because I believe he has 1 catch in the last 2 games, and he had 0 targets in the Iron Bowl against Auburn. And this is the same guy. And we talked about the drops early in the season and the drops last year, and he started to clean up the drops a little bit. But there feels to me like something's going on with Ryan Williams. I don't know what it is. I didn't go in and do a deep dive on his tape, and maybe I will before the game on Saturday to see is he struggling with an injury? Is he not the same explosive guy? Is his confidence lacking? Is he not running the routes with the same speed and tempos? I don't know what it is because I wasn't studying him. I was studying the quarterback play when I went and watched after watching Alabama's defense first. But something's going on, right? When like Ryan Williams was Jeremiah Smith B, it was 1A and 1B. It was Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams were the clear-cut 2 best freshmen coming in that class a year ago. And they both had monster freshman campaigns. And Ryan Williams has like up and down early in the season, and now it's like silence.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of answering the question with the way you're framing it, but yeah. There's something's got to be going on, right? He's
And
too
can
talented.
they beat Georgia? Can they beat Georgia without Ryan Williams being a productive part of that offense?
Yeah, because he's so good at distributing to the open guy, and they'll get Cuevas involved, the tight end, and Jeremy Bernard and Horton, and maybe Lottie comes up with a couple plays, and yeah, I think they can.
But without him against Auburn, he throws for 122.
I hear you.
If Ryan Williams goes for 90, 110, now we're in like the low 200 passing range, and that's a big difference.
Huge difference. Obviously, they're a better team with him rolling. The question is, can they win that game versus are they a better team with him?
Because Bernard is a possession, run after catch, does all the little things, the dirty work over the middle. Isaiah Horton's an X wide receiver, possession, physical, slants. They got one guy that can go.
You're always knocking Bernard down, even though I know you love him. He's more than that, man. Bernard's more than that.
I know that, but I'm saying he's not. When Ryan Williams is rolling, Ryan Williams is the more explosive vertical threat.
No question.
Okay.
No question.
That's my point.
My question.
Yes.
Alabama loses this game. They in? I think they're in. Should they be in? 3 losses now. A recent loss to Oklahoma.
And Oklahoma's in.
And as much as the things we like about Alabama, and you went through all of them, you also mentioned some things: inconsistent offensive line play, no run game. Ty Simpson, as good as he's been, has been handcuffed by some things.
A hard part would be, because then it becomes the question: would Texas be in?
Right.
Because Texas has the positive resume is the 3 wins over top 10 ranked teams at the time. The negative is the Georgia loss was ugly, and the committee's not going to hold. I think Alabama's in. There's more of an emphasis on we can't, as we saw with SMU last year, we can't knock a team out of the playoffs for getting into a conference championship game and losing. And all of a sudden, no one wants to play in a conference championship game. So I think I think they would still be in, but I'm not saying with certainty. And if you're going to try to put Texas in after Bama already beat Georgia and Georgia
handled
35-10 or 35-15, whatever that score was. Yeah, that would be a tough one for me.
What about Miami?
You know where I am. Put Texas in, put Alabama in, even if they lose in the SEC championship game.
I agree.
And get BYU, get them out. The thing that fucked us all is Miami not with that ridiculous data point thing, ACC. The ACC should be about the highest 2 ranked teams. And now we're stuck with a scenario where if Duke goes and wins the ACC championship game, they might not get in because they won't be ranked high enough because because there's 2 other programs from other conferences.
I'm going to get that into
higher.
one of my other.
Okay,
I'm going to get into that with one of my tape truths later on, but it just can't happen.